Welcome to the Mark Out Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Today, we're going to talk about common law again. Now, this is Peter, my good friend. Hi, Peter. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back on.
It's always a pleasure, never a pain. Now, for you guys that are watching this that don't know about common law, go and look at my website, themarkoutshow.com, or my BitChute channel. You'll find interviews that I've done with Peter in the past. And the reason we're getting on, we're just doing a quick show today because I want to talk to Peter about what I found really interesting, Peter, is that in the last, we've been at this for 18 months, 2 years, whatever. I know you've not, the situation we're in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You and I have both go back about 10 years at least, understanding the system. And then you especially have focused on the common law aspects of it. And you've been of great service to humanity, what I've seen in the last 18 months at least. And I really appreciate that. And you've helped me out personally with a number of things. But what I want to talk to the viewers about today with you is, let's go back 18 months, right? So you start going on YouTube, start talking about common law and how we reclaim our power. And, a lot of people are like, oh, this is crazy. I don't understand it. This is too difficult to learn. But what I'm seeing, from just being out and about in the last few months is that I've met some amazing people in Ireland, for example, right? So there's a common law centre up in Donegal, and they've been doing great work getting people out of debt for a long time. I did a talk in Doolin, County Clare, a couple of months ago, and I met an incredible guy there who has using the law of the land to give notices to all the high ups in this country and calling them out and achieving results. And the more people, I met somebody in the cafe recently who was talking about the same, just said, Mark, yeah, listen, I've been doing this and I've sent this letter off and that letter off. And so what I'm saying is I've noticed a lot of people starting to catch up with this, and starting to look into it more and more and more, which, by the way, if you're watching this and you don't know anything about it, you must look into it, because this is fundamental to we the people reclaiming our power, because they've used maritime law against us, and it's all by consent. And this is the key. And I'm just wondering how it's been for you the last 6 months. What have you noticed?
It's definitely how would you put it's growing. The whole the knowledge base of people is growing. This is the thing, and I think a lot of it is because if you look at the insanity that they've went through, they have been pushing it, haven't they? Sort of really pushing their narrative side of it. And people now, you can see a massive split. You've got these people that I want to pull, if I had a hair, I'd pull it out, right? And you see them and they're hanging like a Ukraine flag out the window. And I think, why are you doing that? You own nothing what you're talking about or what you're supporting there. You haven't got a clue. And they're still bragging about yes, I've got every single thing in the world. Stick it in there, and
give it to me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they're not out in the streets bent over with the trousers down.
Yeah, no. Where's the fifth one? We give it.
I want more.
I'm sure we used to call them smackheads, but I don't know. It's different now. But on the other side, though, I'm seeing people from all ages. I was at an event. I was helping people down in Middlesbrough last night and going over the different sort of talks and how to deal with bailiffs or clowns in costumes, we call them, the policy enforcement officers and so forth. And you've got little old women there that have been doing notices and telling them and put them in their place, and then all sorts of every walk of life. And then it's growing and growing.
Let me tell you, that's brilliant. You just reminded us of an amazing woman who got taken to court for not wearing this in Ireland. Yeah. And I wish I could, I think her name was Mary, but I can't remember her surname. And she got taken to court and she just listened to all the bullshit. And she said, the only person I answer to is God. That's all she said. And she just left it. And I think they ended up putting her in jail, probably because she agreed to her name in court or something like that. But she's like a 68-year-old grandmother. And they threw her in jail for not wearing one of these to make an example. And then they put it all over the papers. And then everybody's like, oh, shit, we've got to do as we're told. And it's like, no, you haven't got to do what you're told. That's just, but what I loved about her is she just stood like an oak tree, right? Yeah. For those of us that are not afraid, she became, for me especially, she was a beacon of power, because we
beacon,
are,
exactly.
yeah. And there's lots of them. I've met lots of them here, and it's amazing what I'm seeing. And it's great to hear that this is happening there as well.
It is, and it's brilliant, and what I did, like, all the way back when we first sort of like started doing, like, talking together on the shows, we were offering people this free downloadable affidavit, let's call it that. It's like to correct your status, basically to tell them, right, that you are not a person, you are not a dead fictional entity, you are a man or a woman. And we still got it. It's still there for free. You can click it, download it on the website, claimyourstrawman.com. And then all you do is edit it to your details. And it tells them, because they've made you a person through your birth certificate fraud that they've actually created, it literally cloned you into the legal society side of the person, instead of being the man or the woman. And you can download it and correct your status and tell them, I declare I am alive, and I am a man or a woman, whichever one you want to put on. But that's the thing as well. You've got to declare it and be a man or a woman. This is a big thing, and it ties in with, all this crazy stuff that they're doing at school, and all these all the alphabetical letters that they come out to, like, describe themselves, and they're all this kind of non-binary and all this. If you can't stand as a man or a woman, you have no law. That is a fact. And that is, you can see it so blatantly obvious. That's why they're pushing this agenda. It's another version of them, right? Completely stripping the rights of the man and the rights of the woman. And that's it, and we've got to stand up there. Like that old lady you were talking about, Mary, or whatever her name was, stand as a beacon in there. Well, you can't judge me. I am a woman, and I stand under the creator, or I stand under God, whatever it is, that you're saying. That's what we use. I say the creator, but it's the same essence, it's the same universal power that was there that created everything, and it certainly wasn't them.
No, that's the true law, and that's
divine law. That's all there is to it, and what they do is they actually commit a crime called personage. So that crime of personage, right, that carries a jail sentence, and that's to actually force you into legal entrapment by admitting that you're a person. But they do it through trickery. The old legalese, the bad language, mixed in the dog Latin with the English. You think you're having a normal conversation, and they're actually getting you to give joinder to being a person.
What does give joinder mean?
Sorry?
What does give joinder mean?
Well, it gives agreement or contract with them. Right. So, for instance, a good example, like the policeman is going to ask you for your details. You've got no reason to give your details whatsoever. Okay. No. Now, obviously, the law might be slightly different in Ireland, but it'll be the same. And case law, if it comes from the United States, it's case law. All right. But we have a great one, Rice versus Connolly, 1966. And he wouldn't give his name when they said, right, we need your details. They did actually suspect him of a crime, but he went, I'm not giving you my details. So they arrested him. And this is the great one. They always call it obstruction. Oh, well, we're arresting you for obstruction. And they kicked it out straight away, because if you go into court, what is it when they say you have the right to remain silent? So they can't say you have the right to remain silent, but you've got to give me your name and address. That doesn't make sense. You either have the right to remain silent, or you don't have the right to remain silent. So, and they arrested a guy in Wales, and that was the DPP versus Neil, and it's 2020, I think it was. And again, same thing. They actually quoted Rice versus Connolly, 1966, in the court. Judge went, yeah, get out. No charge. All right. It's ridiculous. And they're always saying the same thing, that these, the police, the clowns in costumes, the policy enforcement officers, what's your details? Oh, I'm going to arrest you for obstruction. They actually said it to me when I kept my gym open in lockdown, supposedly a woman. And they went, right, if you're not going to give us your details, they're going to lock you up. I just turned around against, stop being childish and get out of my gym, and off the trundle.
Get out of my gym. I love it.
Exactly.
Well,
but what they do as well is they ask you, and it doesn't matter if you interrupt it. They give you've got the right to remain silent. We blah blah blah. Anything you do, say or not say, will be used in evidence. And I'm like, I'm not even listening to you, right? And the thing is, then they say, do you understand? That's a perfect example of joinder.
Yeah.
So what they're not saying is, have you comprehended what I've said? What they're saying is, do you stand under the authority I have over you?
Yeah.
And if you say yes, you've given them joinder, you've contracted with them.
Yeah.
So that's a good example.
So if I get pulled over by the guards and they ask me a question, normally they'd say, who are you? Give me your license. I mean, I learned this years ago because I used to subscribe to Streetwise Publications in Rochdale, which is a great company with some of their information.
Still going.
Yeah, they're great. And I bought this handbook from an ex-police officer in the UK, and it was like a list of things that you should and shouldn't say. And when I read this thing about if the police ask you for your details, you just don't give it. And I was like, whoa. And that was a big shock to me. This was like 20 years ago. But it stuck with me. And then my journey, we're all so busy with going about our lives. We don't realize how their whole modus operandi is really like sheepdogs, right? And we just if they bark at us, we just do what they tell us to do, and that's how they trick us into entering joinder into a contract. And as soon as we've entered into a contract, game over, right? Because you've agreed.
But the thing is, you see, like in general, right? And there's always going to be a criminal element of whatever it is. I mean, the government are there, aren't they? So it's got to be a criminal element. But in general, people always want to, they don't want to cause harm to other people, and they want to get on with their life, and they just want to like help. They want to be helpful. They want to be good citizen, if you want to call it that, or you never want to be a citizen. You want to be a good man, a good woman. So they've got this like thing where it's like they say, show us your details. Oh yeah, okay. But it's like indoctrination from literally birth onwards.
Well, literally birth certificate.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So, but also you go to school as well. And the thing is, your parents are indoctrinated before that. So when they're telling you things that they've been told to say, and it's all about authority. You have to do what you're told. Who said so? You go to school, stand in that line, don't move, look forward, don't sit down, stand up. The school registration system is one of the most hideous forms of indoctrination you can ever imagine, but nobody thinks about it. All right.
I have a court summons right here.
Oh, there you go. I bet it's all in capitals.
There's a lot of it's in capitals, and
your name.
My name is in capitals. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to say no to this, and I'm going to record it and see where we get along and see what they do, because I think I mean I've told this story on the channel before and we've discussed it, but the most powerful line, the most magical thing was when the TV license people came and I said, I refute your implied right of access to this property, please leave, while shaking with my camera in my hand, and the guy just left. And I was like, ooh,
yeah,
this shit's real.
Mm-hmm.
And back then there was a guy on YouTube who was amazing, and he was giving talks all around the UK, and I think he's dead now. And he was a skinny Cockney guy, and that's it. He got he got really abused, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he was explaining the difference between a constable and the police officer, which is what we have now. Which are just police officers, which are policy enforcement officers. But I'll just quickly go back, and we'll go over this a second, all right? But go back to saying what your name is all in capitals on that summons, right? So when you're sitting in school, everyone will remember it, and you're all sitting at your desks, and there's the teacher sitting there looking at you, so that she can see where you are, or he, whatever.
Oh, the register, of course.
Yeah, the register, right? But that register is written out in full capitals. And then they read their name in full capitals. This is witchcraft.
Yeah.
Okay. This is black magic, whatever you want to call it. So they read that name out. All right, Peter Wilson, and you go, yes, here. This is joinder that you're given to that capitalized name. That is you agreeing you're a person. It's just getting put in your brain all the time, and that 100% is witchcraft.
And that's 200 times a year for 14 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot.
Wow.
Just imagine that, like all going in, all of that vibration, because that life is all about energy and vibration. So all that energy and vibration are putting into them little children's minds.
That's why it's taken us 50 years to undo the stuff.
Exactly. You see, and everything about school is just pure indoctrination. I mean, it's not education, is it? It's indoctrination. If it was education, the first thing they're going to do is the children say, look, where are we ever going to find clean water to drink if you needed it?
Yeah.
Right. How are you ever going to grow food so that we could actually have something to eat? right? How are you going to create a shelter so you're not going to freeze to death when it's
Yeah.
food, water, shelter? The rest of it's a bonus. Like who, if you've got them three things, you can live for the rest of your life. You don't need anything. You know, you go and live with a little hut in an orchard, a fruit orchard, you'd never need anything ever again.
Right.
It's true, isn't it?
No, but I want a mortgage. I want a car. I want to get married. I want
Yeah.
the contract, dead, all over. Recycle, reincarnate, do it again, and we'll just feed off you for the next 70 years.
Never learn, never learn. So you're going to get the mortgage, the death pledge, you know. So what you have to do is you have to give up your entire life to pay for something that you're never in because you're always out working.
Well, I know we're just doing a short show and we're riffing without structure, but I've got a question on mortgages, right? During this, let's say somebody wanted to buy a house, but you don't want a mortgage. How can you do it without getting a mortgage? Okay, if you haven't got the full amount of cash to buy the house.
Yeah, well, I've just been speaking to a guy. He lives in South America. He's English. I can't remember where he lives now. It's not Puerto Rico, but anyway, and he's trying to buy a house with what they call. I don't want to go too deep into this because it's complicated, but a 1099, and it's literally it's from America. It's from the IRS.
Sounds like an ice cream.
It does, right? But he's trying to buy a house with it because you actually use it as a check, and it works with the affidavits and everything. Now we're busy doing this process of a 1099, but on a different way to reclaim all of the money that went through the bank. And we're set up now. We're just waiting for the result. We're literally waiting for the check to come back as proof that it works. It worked the opposite way as proof. Like a couple of years ago, like the guy we're working with, he had got a fine, a $15,000 fine because he did it wrong. So you've got to know what you're doing. But this guy now, the second one that we've done, and his passports came back from America. He lives in England. His passports came back, and they've never sent any letters with fines or anything. So now we're sitting waiting, thinking, well, it must have worked. We're waiting on the check coming. And the IRS send a tax refund, because that's what it's classed as, right? So, you know, boom, and then you get that cash. And that's everything that went through the bank for the last 3 years. Everything that's come out of your bank, it's called abandoned funds. But on this other guy that Brandon, he's just messaged me there, and he's like all excited because he's doing this way there where he uses the 1099 form. They're all tax forms. I've got loads of them all over the place, and he uses it like a check, and he's put it in there to buy this property, you know. So I mean, all of this research just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and these people find ways, and then, you know, because I've tried to do things, they find a little bit extra, that little bit nugget, and they run to me and go, look, I've got this, and the knowledge grows, and then we share it with each other, and then obviously get everyone else to do it. So, but that's the only thing I can answer that with.
Well, this is the thing, as this time progresses, seeing this knowledge increase, you know, just with people I'm meeting on the streets and stuff, is I think this is the key. It's one of the keys to this whole thing. And we were talking earlier about how useful it'd be to have a little handbook with the most common situations. Like if you get stopped by the police, what do you say? If you get a bailiff come to the door, what do you say? At the moment, I've had a woman trying to get me to fill in the census. She's been to the house about 10 times. It's hilarious. I just keep putting it in the bin. You know, but if I actually spoke to her, what would I say? You know, because people, you know, I've spoken on that census thing because the whole of Ireland's being censored at the moment. Sorry, not censored. Well, that as well. But having, you know, being told it's mandatory to fill out this census, you know, my answer, if I did speak to her, the kind of thing I would say is, you are a policy enforcement officer for a corporation that has no jurisdiction over me. I invoke your implied right of access to my property. Please leave. Would that kind of thing work with something like that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and they always come back and say, well, but you'll actually get fined, you know, if you don't. And I would just say, well, under what law?
It's very nice of you to fine me, but it's not me, and there's no law.
Exactly. What law? You know, and they're all like, oh, general this act, that act. Well, you've just said it. It's an act. And only a play can have acts. You know, this is not an act. This is my real life. So thank you. Goodbye. You know? But I did like, you know, we were talking before, and I've got like all this big piles of paper that I created to go along with that video, with literally talking about that would be good. And we'll work together and we'll create a handbook that we can actually pass out to people.
In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll put a little link to this video, and if anybody wants to be on the list for when we get it done, we'll just put your email in. We won't do anything other than tell you when that's out.
Yeah.
you know, and we got to get this out to as many people as possible, because
exactly. You know, just to actually reiterate what you said there, when you removed the implied rights of access, you see, and it's very important. So they all think they have the right to access your property. This is the problem. Now, you can't even really blame them, because this is what they're told, and they think they've got a position of authority. Oh, I'm going to go in, whoever it would be, a bailiff, that would want your census filled in, you know, policy enforcement officers. But, right, you have the right to remove their implied rights of access. And you tell them, now you can do it verbally or written, and you can have a notice and you can stick it up on your gate or on your door. Now, it was backed up and endorsed by Lord Justice Donaldson, and he's a High Court judge. And that was like in a case of Lambert versus Roberts. Whenever you get a case, you get case law. Some people call, well, solicitors call that common law made by judges. That's the way they describe it. It's not how we see common law, but it's case law. And that was in 1981, right? And it's placed such a notice akin to a closed door, but it also prevents a bailiff from entering any garden or driveway or climbing over a fence. They're not allowed to do it. So that is a law. Okay. So what we'll do is, I actually did that video on my channel, and I have this that you can download, but I'll actually put it together properly and I'll send you it, and then we can create that booklet for them and send it out literally as a nice little handbook that they can keep on themselves. The 10 most common problems or whatever sentences to deal with clowns in costumes and bailiffs or something along those lines.
Well, yeah, I just think it'd be really useful, because, you know, in the case of the TV license, for me, I did loads and loads of research, and I picked up that one line and I rehearsed it. I didn't really understand it, but I rehearsed it, and I took the gamble of saying it to this TV license guy, and he just turned around and left. And I was like, whoa, this is powerful. And it's just, we've been kept in such a state of ignorance. And they've, you know, most of the governments, well, all the governments of the world are completely illegal. They don't have any power. It's all based on maritime law, and everybody needs to understand this. But it does take a bit of time. I mean, you've been working so long at this that you've probably done more work than most solicitors do to become solicitors, more studying.
I would say 100%. You
Yeah.
know, I've even went on to study on the legal side just so I can get a better understanding of what you know, that they are actually thinking. You know, so it's sort of know thine enemy, isn't it, kind of thing. So, but for sure, I think I probably studied more than even barristers getting ready to pass the bar.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's all got to know what the real law is, you see. But also you need to know what their legal society say it is, because there it is two separate things. It's completely and utterly different what the law is, and being a man and expressing the law as a man or a woman, but rather than this, what they call acts and statutes, right? That's the legal side. So it's just made up. It's literally you know, Doris and his pals sitting there going like over some like drinks and that. Look, come on, you know, let's go and like make up a few more rules and we'll send it out to the peasants, like, you know, for all the scum that's sitting outside Downing Street shouting at us through the gates. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous, and it's just literally what they are. Acts and statutes can never be law. They are literally company rules, and you abide by them only if you have consented to them. Well, and we've got proof that people have stood up against acts and statutes when they said, oh, Road Traffic Act, blah, blah, blah. And they went, show me the wet ink signed contract that I agreed with you that I would consent to the acts, be it Road Traffic Act or any other. And they always go huff and puff, but there's no contract. We live in a world of contracts. That is as simple as. So if you have not got a contract with that corporation, all governments are private, limited, for-profit companies. And if you don't believe me, go and have a look and Google the Clearfield Doctrine, and it states point blank, proven in case law, that all governments are corporations and need a contract to deal with you. There you go.
Which means that all tax is theft, which means that all police officers are just policy enforcement officers for private limited companies. Correct?
100%.
Which means all traffic laws are nonsense. I mean, when the police around the world were stopping people at checkpoints on the road during the lockdown, they were all of them breaking the law, because most constitutions of most countries, so long as you're doing no harm and you've not committed an offense and you've hurt nobody, you have not committed a crime, you are allowed to go about your business without any interference. I mean, it says that in the Irish Constitution. Yeah, people were just stopping and going, yes, because of the fear. And it's just really, really wonderful to hear what you've said about how this is developing and how we have to, just breaking through that fear. I mean, I've done it myself with the TV live. I was shaking when I did that thing years ago because it is coming out. So, because of the 2,800 times that you agreed to represent your straw man in school, because of the fact that you had to put a uniform and a tie on every morning and go to school and be indoctrinated. I mean, they know what they do. And that's why Tony Blair said, education, indoctrination, indoctrination.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to break that cycle of obedience, really, is what it is. And it's like robotized obedience. And that's what they're trying to do, like with everybody. But obviously, it doesn't always work. So you have like certain people like ourselves who are a little bit more awake and think, hang on, and then question things. And they hate being questioned, you know. We were just talking about this today about our grandparents, actually, who on the male side all died of black lung because they were all down the pit.
Yeah.
You know, and they were probably down the pit from the age of 11 or 12.
Yeah.
My grandparents. You know, and it's just like literally all they want is people to go to work and die. And they don't care what else you do. You know, they're not looking for people to do anything apart from be them little peasants. And they've never changed. You know, it's no difference from them, right? And we might look a little bit different. You might think that you've got a better life, so everything's hunky dory. You got an automatic washing machine. You don't have to go out in the backyard with that big pan. You know, but it's true. We used to have a big metal bath and an outside toilet. You know, yeah, no, yeah. It's you know, I can remember it all, but it just seemed that these like lives were just like they weren't even lived, were it? It was just a pure existence. Exactly what the Rockefellers had said, J.D. Rockefeller, right? I don't want a world of thinkers. I want a world of workers.
Obedient workers. With just enough IQ to operate the machines, but not too much to think about what is actually happening to them.
Yeah, or swing the hammer, boom, or whatever it is that they're doing, you know.
Yeah, go on. Sorry, man, I'm interrupting.
No, go on, you go.
No, I was just thinking, this has been a short, sharp update, and I really appreciate it because I get more and more excited about the future when we take our power back. And I think the work that you've been doing is so important. How do people find you if they've not seen you before?
Well, I can remember now, my channel 2021 Return to Democracy on YouTube, or the Contract Law on the Facebook if you're ever doing on any of that, or claimyourstrawman.com, you know, on the website. So, and you can go on there and you can download for free all of the documentation to actually declare your status as being alive, being a man or a woman.
Well, I'll just tell everybody I've done this. What's the UCC thing again in the States?
UCC 1, yeah.
So just explain that quickly. What did I do when I did that? I took myself off of the credit register, right?
Well, what you actually created your name because they've got you capitalized as the debtor, so you've put it in the lowercase there as the creditor. And that's really handy if you ever want to do that 1099 stuff that we were talking about.
Which I do.
Because you have to deal with the IRS. So, like I said, that guy that got the $15,000 fine, then if he'd have been on the UCC 1 and separated it, they wouldn't have been able to do it. So you've got that as well. So
people watching this are going to say, what if you're in Canada? What if you're in Ireland? What if you're in England? What's it going to do with the IRS?
Oh, the IRS is the world's tax man. You know, I don't care if it's like, you know, the HMRC that doing it, or, you know, it all ends up going there. It's taken, we traced it, went the First National Bank, I think it was, and it all goes to the IRS, everything. And the proof, it's like I say, that guy who's got the $15,000 fine, they wouldn't have even fined him, right, if it wasn't true. Why would they deal with him? Everything goes to the IRS. The whole, and then, you know, from there, the Vatican, it's all tied together.
Yeah.
You know, there is no such thing as the New World Order. There's an old world order, right? And there's no individual countries really. You know, they just divided that up so they give us a pin and more tracking, a passport. It's
Yeah,
just more ID. It's
yeah,
like
yeah. Herding sheep.
yeah, they just want it digitalized now, you know. There's no difference. They never used to have them. They don't have them for birds flying over. Do you know what
Well,
I mean?
it's like the Enclosures Act in the 1600s or whenever it was, when they created the acts to break up because all the ground was common. It was called common land, and then they parceled it off, and it's just been a process over the years to just separate, divide and conquer, 6 feet apart, put this on, don't touch each other, don't cuddle each other, blah 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 blah. It's just the end game of their tyrannical nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah. See, like what you're saying in the 1600s, they were called the land grabs, right? But they also introduced the Poor Act as well, right? And if you earned less than, and this is like 1630, something like that. Imagine that, right? Then, if you earned less than £10 a year on who did on them days, just like nobody, like that was normal. 99%, I think they said, was it, or 99 or 95% of the whole of England, Scotland, and Wales was put into poverty by the Poor Act. And you weren't allowed to leave your town, right? So, and if you ever arrived, this was the Vagrants Act as well. So you can check these things out. That's why they had stocks. It wasn't just, like, oh, he's been doing something naughty. If you walked into someone else's town, the guy who owned the town would have to pay a tax on you. So they're like, hang on, who the hell are you? Put you in the stocks, get everyone to throw stuff at you, right? And then they would take you back to the town you came from because that guy didn't want to pay a tax on you. That's the Poor Act. And that's why everybody has still now on the passport, you can check it if you don't believe me, right? You used to get a P put on your shoulder. Okay, the letter P used to be sewn on your clothes on your shoulder there, on your right shoulder. And it's still on your passport now. So check your passport type, it'll say P.
Does.
Peasant.
Yeah. Well, I did the genealogy in my family, and I looked at all the birth certificates and stuff and marriage certificates over the last 200 years or however long it's been. And occupation, peasant. Occupation, peasant. Peasants no more.
Exactly.
And the root to that is knowledge. Talking of which, I don't know if did you see the Road Out of Babylon, I think it was called, by David Smart, an American guy who's been going around the States giving lectures on this stuff. I'll send you the link if you haven't, because he's doing a great job over there, and he's got loads and loads of people out of court and debt and all sorts of things. And what I'm saying is this movement, this knowledge is spreading. And that's why I wanted to just connect with you, because just like an update on how it's started spreading since we started this situation, because that is part of the Great Awakening.
Most definitely, and it's spreading like wildfire. I mean, in every country as well. You've got like Canada, that you've got like leaders that are like, just talking to people, and the word is spreading. And then they're telling each other, oh, by the way, you don't actually have to be a peasant. You can actually argue back and stand up for yourself as a man or as a woman. All over the world, it's starting to actually take hold. And I think, we don't, no one can say what's going to happen, but I can see that mankind, all right, or man and womankind is definitely building up, and that the veil of the actual secrecy, like little Toto, the dog, he's pulling back that curtain and he's showing like the silly old man behind the curtain who's pretending to be the all powerful Wizard of Oz.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Wizard of Oz, because that sums up everything, that film, if you look at the symbology of it, doesn't it?
The whole thing. It's a documentary.
Yeah.
It's basically explaining the whole thing, right? The tax man, the tin man is like your tax identification number, and you're gonna like work until you rust up and die. The whole thing, following the yellow brick road. Where's the trail of gold lead to? Even the poppies in the field, they were just talking about where they're going to flood the United States with cocaine and heroin. It's all in that film, the whole thing. The flying monkeys, there's your policy enforcement officers, like absolutely brainless, just doing exactly what they're told, arresting everybody, throwing them in jail. It's all in there.
Yeah. No wonder they made us watch it. No wonder it was on every Christmas.
Every Christmas, wasn't it? Like, right, come on, it's Christmas Day, Wizard of Oz, straight on there. Oh, okay.
Well, the other amazing Christmas film is It's a Wonderful Life, which tells the story the opposite way, and was made by good guys, in my opinion. But that got the rights to that got bought by Ted Turner, the satanic Ted Turner, and then he started withdrawing it, so it didn't get shown anymore. And it's just so obvious when you start seeing and piecing it all together. And I know we've not got long to talk about this today, but it was really just a little booster for anybody watching this to get educated, start learning the stuff. We're going to put this handbook together just to make and get it spread out. You know, just talk to people about it as well, because this is how we do it, right?
Definitely spread the knowledge. That's what it's all about. And true, like, you know, true knowledge, like this type of knowledge about what the real truth is, about what the real law is, not these acts and statutes, and how you can stand under the creator in law. All right, then just that's the knowledge that you need, and that's the knowledge that you should share.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter.
No, you're welcome.
Thanks for doing this quick one. We'll do a longer one again pretty soon. Been very busy the last few months. I know we both have, but it's always a pleasure to meet you. You guys watching, hope you enjoyed that. Just a little burst of encouragement, really, that this stuff it not only works, but it's important for you to learn it. You don't have to become a lawyer, but you need to learn some of it and start implementing it and stop giving away your power.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, man.
No worries. Take care.